Do you say asthma, salmon, or jalapeno? Well, then you've been mispronouncing these words. Today we will correct 7 oft-mangled pronunciations. Gather round as we set the record straight. But first, do subscribe to The English Nut on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, now pronounced X. Thank you. Breathe in, breathe out, and let's address asthma. You might hear asthma or asthma at the doctor's clinic, but hark, the S is pronounced as Z and the TH is silent. Sneaking in from Greek where it meant panting, asthma might leave you breathless, but saying it shouldn't. Despite his asthma, he sprinted like the wind, his inhaler the sidekick to his superpowers. The dusty attic was a danger zone for those with asthma, a true test of lung fortitude. I managed to cure my asthma with a combination of pranayama and Ayurveda. Let's turn up the heat with jalapeno, often mispronounced as jalapeno. But let's slice it correctly. It's jalapeno with a hearty j to start. That's because in Spanish, the language from which the word has come into English, J is pronounced like a throaty H, a bit like the j in the Urdu word khair. The N with the tilde or squiggly line on it is called ñe in Spanish and pronounced with an NY sound, nya. With the O after it, it becomes nyo. Note that in the box where the correct pronunciation is mentioned, I have used bold letters to indicate the syllable that is to be stressed while pronouncing the word. This applies to all the words in this video. Hailing from Jalapa in Mexico, jalapeños pack a punch both in dishes and in diction. He diced the jalapeno with a culinary flair, a sprinkle of spice in the salsa of life. At the mention of jalapeno poppers, her taste buds did a merry dance of anticipation. The jalapeno plant in his garden was his proud little firework, small but explosive. The bird that struts with a bobbing gait is not a pigeon, pigeon or pigeon, but a humble pigeon with a stress on the first syllable. Flying in from Middle English, pigeon may have roots in pipio, an old Latin word for young cheeping bird. The pigeon, that feathery denizen of the city, cooed from its perch like a street corner philosopher. A congregation of pigeons took flight, painting a picture of urban ballet against the concrete jungle. He loved feeding the pigeons at Mumbai's monument, the Gateway of India. Leicester. It's a city in England whose name has a tricky spelling that leads to it being mispronounced as Leicester. It should be Leicester. Leicester also refers to a breed of big-built white-faced sheep with heavy fleece, as well as to a hard orange-colored cheese similar to cheddar. On her trip to Leicester, she discovered the charm of the Midlands, a cozy quilt of English culture. The football match in Leicester had fans roaring louder than lions. In Leicester Square, old stories swirled among the cobblestones. Swimming upstream in the pronunciation pool is salmon, often floundering as salmon. Let's reel it in, it's salmon, with an invisible L as silent as a fish beneath the water's surface. The word salmon swims from the Latin salmo, but that L, it's a swimmer that doesn't make a splash. He savored the salmon, its subtle flavors a sonnet on his palate. Grilled salmon is one of my favorite dishes. The chef's specialty was smoked salmon, a dish that whispered of northern seas and smoky secrets. Not a cupboard where one might display cups, but a cupboard, a snug haven for everything from spices to surprises. However, the word does originate from the term cupboard, which was indeed once a sideboard or table for cups. So back in the day, you would not have been wrong if you said cupboard. Today, it's another matter. She reached into the cupboard where cookies and mysteries lay in wait. The old house groaned, its cupboard spilling stories with every creaking hinge. In the kitchen, the cupboard stood like a steadfast soldier, guarding the culinary troves within. The course that concludes a meal isn't desert, a dry expanse of land, but a delightful dessert, as sweet on the tongue as it is to the ear. Note that the sweet dish has two S's, unlike the geographical term. Sweetly lifted from the French desservir, meaning to clear the table, dessert is the grand finale of dining. For dessert, she chose a chocolate mousse, each spoonful a dive into decadence. The promise of dessert got him through the tasteless meal. I made rasgullas for dessert. And there you have it, dear linguophiles. Asthma, pigeon, jalapeno, Leicester, salmon, cupboard, and dessert. Words that, when pronounced just right, can transport you from the streets of Delhi to the rivers of Alaska. Remember, the world is a mosaic of sounds, and with each word rightly uttered, we paint our part in it. A special thanks to my viewers Urunima Shur and Pratik Kumar for suggesting these words with tricky pronunciations. Until we meet again, let your speech be a banquet of correctly served sounds. I'm the English Nut saying a correctly enunciated bye for now.